Hi, I'm Jamie Smart, and welcome to the podcast. The episode this week is a conversation I had with a good friend and colleague, Christian McNeill, on the relevance of the principles to the big changes going on in the world today and in our daily lives. So I really hope you enjoy it.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Three Principles Conversations with me, Christian McNeill. And this week, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by coach, writer, and various other titles, which he'll tell you more about, Jamie Smart. And before I hand it over to you, Jamie, I just want to remind or let our listeners or viewers know that Jamie is one of the people who introduced me to the principles. So I'm eternally grateful for that. I went on a course called something like Grow Your Business with Integrity. I didn't know it was going to be anything to do with the inside out understanding the principles or whatever we're calling it today. But it was, and it hit me like a train. And my life completely turned around on that day, which is now almost 15 years ago. And yeah, and what's interesting, it wasn't that the change was utterly complete and immediate on day one, but the trajectory massively shifted. Anyway, Jamie, over to you. Would you tell people a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what your business is called, and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jamie Smart. I'm a Sunday Times best-selling author. I'm a speaker. I'm a coach. I'm a teacher, and I'm passionate about sharing this understanding as a way to help people kind of wake up to who they really are and what they've got going for them. And I first stumbled across the principles in 2009, and I started having insights into it. My first insight was, oh, everything you've been looking for outside of you is already there within you. And what I mean by that isn't, cool shoes and wristwatches. I mean, uh, stuff like, peace of mind and well-being and mental health and clarity and presence and love and connection. I saw it all comes from within, and I'd read that in books before, but I suddenly grasped it for myself, and it started, like you described, Christian. It started changing things immediately. And then my second insight into this understanding was, oh, the fact that a person is even aware, the fact that they can see, hear, and feel means they have this source of resilience and realization and transformation already there within them. It's there in everybody. And that had an immediate game changing impact on my work as a coach and as a trainer, because it suddenly made me so much more hopeful for my clients because I could see what they had going for them. Even if they couldn't see it, they didn't have to believe me that it was there, like, because I knew it was there whether they knew it or not. And I started seeing incredible results from that. And then, and this was all, the beginning of 2009. And then in June of that year, I had a sudden realization, which was, oh, this is the future of psychology. This is to psychology what the discovery of germs was to medicine, right? Like a paradigm shift. So literally that day, I called up my office back in the UK. I was in the US at the time, and I said, there's principles for psychology. We're changing direction. We're going all in with the principles, because I really got at a knowing level. This wasn't an intellectual thing, Christian. I knew, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 20 years. This is what I'm going to be putting all my energy into, and that sort of thing. So it's been 16 years so far, and it's been an amazing adventure. It's incredibly heartening and encouraging to see people's lives being touched by this understanding. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm about and what I'm up to. And then, I've been growing a business and doing all that sort of thing. And then what I've seen over the last couple of years is I'm going to continue on that trajectory, but the rise of AI and various things, which we can get into, means it looks to me like it's never been more important to share this understanding and wake people up to who they really are. So that's kind of where I'm putting all my attention now.
Oh, lovely, very cool. And there's a couple of things that you said there, which I love. One of them, you talk about what people have going for them, and that's so important. I think for it's so important for a client to notice, or a student of this to be aware of, but also, as you say, as a coach, as a facilitator, it's enormously helpful to know that whether it's one person before me or a group, everything that we need for change to happen, for transformation to happen, is already there. And I, as a coach, will find evidence, as a coach and ex-lawyer, will find evidence to back up what I'm pointing the client to. There will be evidence in their life already. They will have had some insights. They will have had moments of great creativity. They've survived everything that's happened to them up until now. And there's another thing that you say, that I really resonate with, and I think it was important for me, and I think I kind of aped and adopted it early on. And you talk about being all in with this, that, and that was important to me. And um, it's not that it isn't true unless you're all in, but there was something about being really willing to um, commit to looking in this direction, to being open-minded, and and it wasn't about it wasn't about buying into a dogma, not that at all, but it was about really the the initial insights that occurred for me. One was that I was not broken, having spent the previous 20 years trying to recover from my brokenness. It was huge. But the that thing of just being, that insight gave me the push, the evidence, the experience of being willing to be all in. I think there's more to be seen here, and not to immediately, get into where are the double blind control placebo studies, etc. Just keep an open mind and look at that. There's something here, and you really want to keep looking at this for a while. So those are two of the things that I have found very helpful, that I have learned from you, from way back and early on.
Yeah, and to the second point there, Christian, it seems to me like there are a couple of things that are very valuable for a person to know, and one is that what you and I are talking about, every human being, if they're willing to have a look, will find the evidence to support it in their own life and in their own experience. So it makes it a very subjective process of exploration and learning and evolution. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, this is genuinely a new paradigm. And so it means that my assertion anyway to someone who's listening is that there is a frame of reference that we've each been taught to use to navigate life, and that frame of reference actually has misunderstanding built into it, and there's a source of insight and clarity and guidance within you that can literally establish a new frame of reference that will have you more in touch with your well-being and mental health, that will have you more available to insight and realization, that'll have you uh, uh, able to be guided uh, by a deeper truth that resides within you and resides within all of life. So it brings you more into contact with life and with reality and with other people and all that sort of stuff. So it's there to be seen if people are willing to have a look for themselves.
Yeah, lovely. Um, was it you that coined the phrase subtractive psychology? You spoke about a new
Yeah,
paradigm in psychology, but because I
yeah,
love that too. That this really is about taking stuff off your mind, as opposed to learning a whole lot more techniques, which I had many of at the time that I encountered this work. And the peace being revealed rather than worked for, or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that too. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Um, One other thing I know that you've spoken about a lot, and you've referenced it today as well, but and, and and it's part of the motivation behind this podcast is this whole idea of spread. As you know, I came into this work, and I had been involved in the 12 step, the recovery movement for many years before I got into this. Um, and I'm conscious that that had an enormous spread, through word of mouth, and it's always struck me that the this work has been much slower to get out into the world, and I'm just curious to hear how you're seeing that today, and also your thoughts about what any of us can do to take to spread it further, because the benefits are so immense.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of things that occur to me. If I look at 12 step, and as you know, I've got a background in 12 step too. Um, I think one of the things that helped 12 step spread, and its original spread was with alcoholism, right? And and I think one of the things that helped it spread so rapidly in the early days of that movement were one, that it was addressing a very specific, really bad problem, which was alcoholism, for which there was pretty much no cure at the time. And all of a sudden, here was something that people could do that would uh, help them recover from alcoholism. Like, that was a huge, like, binary. Before, there was nothing you could do about it but, get yourself locked in an insane asylum and hope for the best, or hope for a 1 in a million insight. And all of a sudden, there was something you could do. But then here's the other piece of that: 12 step has a bunch of form on it. So it's got meetings, it's got things, so there's a structure there. And hats off to the people who started AA, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob. They, with the early members of that movement, evolved steps, evolved traditions, evolved something very, very in the world of form that people could do, and that had not a proselytizing built into it, but had a spreading mechanism built into it. So I can see why that's taken off and has spread so effectively. But here's the other thing that's interesting about it. Last I heard, and don't quote me on the numbers, but I know these are the right order of magnitude. The recovery rate for AA is about 4%, 3%. Like, it's small, a pretty small number. So while the spread of the form has been significant, the thing that's doing the heavy lifting is still insight and realization. And that's because a lot of attention is put on the form. The thing that's doing the heavy lifting isn't spreading with nearly the same uh, efficiency as the form is, right? And I think that's just the way of it, right? Like, I think that's the way of it with the principles too. Like, the the understanding. People will read my book Clarity, and I go, "Oh, I get it. I'm feeling thought in the moment. Got it. Got it. Got it." And a bunch, hundreds of 100,000 copies of my books are being sold and that sort of thing. So lots of people get something about that. But the only thing that's made a difference to those people is their own insights. And when it comes to spreading your own insights, well, that's kind of an art in and of itself. So I think part of it's funny. A buddy of mine once said, he said, "You know what the problem with the three principles is?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "They don't photocopy very well." And and it's true, because what we're pointing to is something that's intangible, it's formless, it doesn't have structures or techniques or processes or that sort of thing. So it's just not as easy for people to pin down. And so I understand why it hasn't taken off at the same rate that ChatGPT or Facebook has, right? Uh, Nevertheless, it looks to me more important than ever, and maybe we'll get on to why that is.
Yeah, I would like to get onto that, but first, there you know, there's something that you said in there about people can read your book or any book or my book or as I did. I actually came across the principles in around 1990 through Joe Bailey's book, The Serenity Principle. I knew there was something in it. I mean, I've always known that, but the thing that and obviously at that time there was no internet, there was no opportunity to kind of go deeper. There was a PO box that you could, but it was really not. I knew that I needed to sort of kind of there was more that I wasn't getting. And but one of the things that sort of got in the way for me, and this was my reading of Joe's book, because I think when I read it again, I missed something. But at that time, I knew that my problem was not so much what I knew I was thinking. And that one of the principles is that that our own thinking, our own processing is what is creating our reality. But I knew that my problem wasn't so much what I knew I was thinking, but, why was I repeating patterns? Why was I making, shit choices over and over again, or finding myself something, how did I get here? So I kind of knew that it was what I might term today invisible thinking or subconscious beliefs that were giving me the greatest trouble in my life. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's just not how it looks it's not how it looks
No,
to
no,
me,
indeed. Mhm.
Christian. It looks to me like it's our understanding of reality that's causing our problems. The issue isn't that we've got unconscious thinking, of course we do, like that most of our conditioning took place before we knew what the word conditioning meant. So there's layers and layers of conditioning, but that's not the issue. The issue is we believe that the world works in a way that it does not work, and that we are something which we are actually not. And so even what you said, that our own thinking is creating a real I don't that's not how it looks to me. It looks to me like we're living in the experience of the principle of thought. Now, the principle of thought is spiritual. The principle of thought is spiritual. And the principle of thought, this spiritual creative energy, is what creates our experience of reality. It's brought to life by the principle of consciousness. And it creates what we experience as an outside, right? Like I look around at the room that I'm in, and it looks like the walls in the room are outside. And then I look at my hands, and it looks like they're outside. I'm in here and they're outside. And I look at the world and the things I'm saying, and they seem like they're outside, but inside is spiritual. Inside is the principles. Inside is the truth and beauty of who you really are. Outside is everything else. Outside is thinking. Outside is conditioning. Outside is beliefs and concepts and ideas. Outside is bodies and the world and nature and all of that. But inside is spiritual, it's the principles. And it looks to me, Christian, like I had a very similar experience to yours. I read a book by Jack Pransky called Somebody Should Have Told Us. And I'm reading this book and I'm like, there's something in here, but I'm damned if I can figure out what the hell it is. But there's something. There's something. And it was because what Jack, in my case, and uh, uh, the author of the Serenity Principle in your case was pointing to was something spiritual. And the thing that was monkeying with our intellect, monkeying with our thinking, was it was pointing to something that we recognize as true, but that we didn't have concepts and beliefs and ideas to conjure with. And yet it was doing something for you. It was doing something for you. So I'm What I'm passionate about is people waking up to who they really are, which is consciousness itself, and how their experience is created, which is we're living in the experience of the principle of thought taking form in the moment. Now, that's not the experience of thinking, it's the experience of the formless energy of thought taking form in the moment. If people don't like the weird way I talk, here's another way of saying it. You're living in the experience of the wisdom and intelligence behind life, creating reality moment to moment. Or you're living in the feeling of God breathing life into the world moment to moment. Like it's spiritual. It's spiritual. And so when you talk about invisible thinking, I mean, like, yeah, I'm assuming that in my case, I've done a lot of archaeology on that stuff, right? In my case, I assume 99% of it is still invisible, right? So I'm not really concerning myself with that stuff because that that invisible thinking, quote unquote, ceases to be an issue the more that we understand how our experience is created and who we really are. I'm going to suggest that the issue isn't that we've got X amount of shonky thinking. We all do, right? Uh, the issue is we have a paradigm for life which is false, which is not true. We're believing something that is fundamentally untrue. And if someone was watching a fictional TV show and they thought it was reality, the most valuable thing you could do for them isn't examine all the scenes and unpick them. It would be to say, no, that's a TV show. That's not reality. So, so my assertion to you, Christian, is there's a way that we work, and as we get eyes for what that is, then it just takes things off our mind and relieves us of the need to do all that invisible thinking archaeology that so many so many traditions point us in the direction of. And there are lots of people who disagree with me on this, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I prefer yours. That's great. You you touched on earlier, you know, why in your opinion that it's never been more important to be part of disseminating this work, sharing it with the world, and I'd love to hear you say more about that. I mean, I have heard you talk a bit about it before, but I'd love to hear you expand on that a bit more.
Well, it's funny, Christian, back when I was working in London as a project manager, so this is the late 90s, I came across a quote from a guy called D. Ward Hawk, who's the guy who started Visa, the credit card company, which was this huge network of payment companies and that sort of thing. Anyway, turns out Hawk was a bit of a hippie, and he said, I've got it here. He said, we're at that very point in time when a 400-year-old age is dying and another is struggling to be born, a shifting of culture, science, society, and institutions enormously greater than the world has ever experienced. Ahead, the possibility of regeneration of individuality, liberty, community, and ethics, such as the world has never known, and a harmony with nature, with one another, and with the divine intelligence, such as the world has always dreamed. Now, I read that in the late 90s, and it kind of struck a light for me. I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, that's where we're headed. That's a possible future that's opening up for us. And it was one of the things that inspired me to start my own business and start teaching people about what I saw then as kind of the tools for freedom, which was my early explorations of the mind and that sort of thing. And it's one of the lights that's kept guiding me as I've explored the principles and I've done what it made sense to me to share it with the world. Well, I look at where we are now, and the thing that Hawke describes in his quote, a 400-year-old age dying and another struggling to be born, we are right there. We are right there. And there's a way in which many of the systems that we rely on in the world are fragile and at breaking point, whether we're talking about the global economy or whether we're talking about, climate crisis, or whether we're talking about food security, or whether we're talking about artificial intelligence or social media and algorithms hacking our limbic system. Uh, the systems that we rely on are starting to uh, they're starting to stretch at the seams, and rivets are popping out and that sort of thing. And it's because the system's going to be reforming. Our society is going through a big transition. And it seems to me that the what I think of as the beautiful possibility that D. Ward Hawk describes, that really is a possibility, a world of genuine abundance, and a different way of relating to each other and to nature and to the world. But it's not the default possibility. The default possibility is kind of techno-feudalism, or uh, internecine conflict, or that sort of thing. And so it looks to me, in a world where AI is basically the human intellect on steroids, and the the systems that we have that are kind of reaching breaking point in the world at the moment, they're an expression of the best thinking we've got. They're an expression of our intellect. An AI is going to be able to do most of the skills and capabilities that humans can do, but it seems to me that the one thing that an AI is never going to be able to do is this. There's a quote by a guy called uh, Howard Thurman. He said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, then go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive." Well, it seems to me that as we head into these strange times that we're living through, the quote I read from D. Ward Hawk, that is a beautiful possibility, a better world that we can live into. And I believe it's going to take each of us to wake up to who we really are and do what we're called to do in the world, as a way of aligning humanity's activities with the deeper wisdom and intelligence of life. So it's never looked more important to me. And in fact, there are three things that make it particularly important. One is the thing I just said about aligning our activities with the wisdom and intelligence of life. A second one is we're going through a humanitarian crisis in mental health. The impact of social media and digital technology, and the polarization of society is having huge impact on people's mental health already. And I think the as AI gathers pace, it's going to drive a cart and horses through that. And so this understanding, it looks to me absolutely essential for supporting people through that humanitarian mental health crisis. And and then the other thing is just about people finding a sense of meaning and purpose. We're heading into a time when the kind of, if you think back to uh, when all farming was done kind of by hand, and an ox pulling a plow and that sort of thing. Then Cyrus McCormack comes along with his reaping machine, and can do the work of 15 men in an hour. What it took 15 men to do in a day, he could do in an hour. And that transformed the world of farming. But it also meant lots of people didn't have work, and suddenly something that had provided meaning and purpose for generations was no longer available to them. Well, yeah, I was heading into London on a train the other day, and I was looking at all the office buildings that have been built. They're factories for knowledge work. And there's a way of seeing AI. I heard someone describe it as, imagine that we've discovered a continent with 100 billion people on it, all of them educated to PhD level and willing to work for free. That's AI. And it's going to absolutely decimate knowledge work over probably the next 2 to 3 years. And we're going to find millions of people suddenly at a loss for meaning and purpose in their lives. And these principles unerringly guide us to the source of meaning and purpose that is in the heart of every single human being. And so that's one of the most important reasons for people to find this, because in the past, we've looked to external structures in many ways to provide meaning and purpose for us. And that is not necessarily going to be here for everyone very soon.
Great. I love all of that, and it reminds me, Jamie, of another thing that I've heard you say, um, which is that we are built for reality. And you can tell us more about precisely what you mean by it, but what I take from that is that when we subtract the fear mongering and the fantasies about the future and the regrets about the past and the comparisons with over there, that whatever is coming down the pipe, that I am built for it, you're built for it. We have the resources, and we don't need to know precisely what's coming down the pipe. But I don't know. Maybe I'm misquoting you or misrepresenting what you mean by that.
No, I like it. I like the way you've put it. If you stop and think about it for a moment, Christian, the fact that we're even here having this conversation means that we've evolved from a long line of creatures stretching back to the dawn of creation, every single one of whom managed to survive until breeding age, hook up with someone at least once, and pass on their genetic material. So that's been happening for millions of years, and we're very much the leading edge of that, and so most of that ancestral history has been on a planet that's somewhat inhospitable, where most creatures, like 90% of creatures, get eaten before they reach breeding age. So there's been an incredible selection process and product development process, and we're the output of that. And so we are built for reality. What we're not built for is a fundamental misunderstanding, an illusion, a la la land about how the world works. And that la la land is reinforced by culture, by parents, by well-meaning friends and colleagues, by television shows, by the news, by the newspapers, and even by our own neurology. So you mentioned about going all in. The reason it seems so valuable to me to really make it a priority to focus on and learn this understanding is because the rest of our semantic environment is likely going to be pointing us in the direction of misunderstanding without meaning to. Like this is the most the longest running deception of all time. It's been in place for millennia, and we have the opportunity to see through it and see something more true and more clear and more nourishing and more aligned with who we really are as individuals and as a society and as a species.
Jamie, wonderful. I'm noticing the time. We're out of time. Thank you so much. This has been really delightful for me, and I'm sure that anyone listening will find it really delightful. I really appreciate you making the time. Where's the easiest place for people to track you down if they want to learn more from you or about you?
jamiesmart.com, JAMIESMART.com is my website. So everything's there. You can find me on the podcast network or on Amazon or on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube. I'm all over the place. So metaphorically and literally. Uh, so yeah, but jamiesmart.com is the easiest central point for it.
Lovely. Well, listen, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Very grateful, and thank you.
Thanks for inviting me, Christian.
Thanks for your attention. I look forward to seeing you soon.